Hi and welcome to a new DUS 1947 battle report. Today, Stage 1 of the league will come to an end as the Axis and SSU fight it out in the last 50 action point battle. The SSU won their first game, whilst the Axis managed a draw, and a look at the league table reveals the winner of this battle will most likely take, alternatively secure, the lead. The roll for mission came up a 3, meaning 3-2-1 contact as per the random mission table. An intense objective grabbing contest would thus be the order of the day. The two sides began building their forces whilst we set up the board. This mission dictates 3 objectives to be placed in a diagonal line, with one objective in the dead center of the table. One set of ammo crates were thus set up on a hill in the northwest corner, another set up in the southeast behind some ruins, and a third and final pile of crates in a ruined building right in the middle. Both sides will receive points for holding objectives at the end of each turn, starting turn 2. The objective closest to your deployment zone is worth 1 point, the middle one 2 points, and the furthest away from you 3 points. The Axis decided to bring a thematic platoon of Sturm Grenadiers made up of 5 units in total. 2 versatile squads of regular infantry made up the core, both full of reliable assault rifles as well as a selection of anti-tank weaponry. A Sturm Grenadier command squad was included too, as special actions are almost always a useful tool. The fast-moving, flamethrower-wielding hero Stefan would bring mobility to the force, and a Jagluther would play the role of a sturdy heavy weapon platform. The SSU, just like last time, built their army around the Red Army faction. A command squad proved its worth last time around and would hopefully be able to contribute in this game too. The infantry was made up of an assault squad with their plethora of weapons and a rifle squad, boasting 2 sniper rifles for long-ranged fire support. A new unit for the SSU is the Tesla gun squad, converted from various bits to give the impression of a walking weapon platform. The Walker detachment included a Nina, its quick movement and dual triple RPG making it a solid anti-tank unit, and the anti-infantry Natasha, armed with dual howitzers. Finally, Koshka would make an appearance in this game too. Turn 1 began with the SSU winning the priority role, and so the Red Army Assault Squad, eager to enter the fray, quickly moved up the field, putting themselves in a position from which they would be able to make a run for the central objective next turn. The Axis activated one of the Sturm Grenadier squads and moved them up along the west flank, making sure to keep them hidden behind some trees for the time being. The Red Army Rifle Squad was assigned objective grabbing duty and thus began their move up the hill in the northwest corner, claiming the ammo crates on top of it for the glory of the motherland. In similar fashion, the other Sturm Grenadier squad entered the board from the opposite corner. Their march move was enough to see them capturing the objective closest to the Axis board edge. Next up was the Tesla gun squad, which made a regular move along the extreme east flank, securing both range and line of sight to the Sturm Grenadiers who had just entered the board. The massive battery pack mounted on one of the sides of the walking Tesla gun charged the weapon, which then sent a burst of electricity towards its target. In a stunning display of accuracy, all 4 shots hit home, but in an equally impressive fashion, the Axis player produced a perfect save roll. Thus, the Sturm Grenadiers only suffered an under fire token, despite the Tesla gun's best efforts. The Axis hero Stefan then moved up the field, using his at the double special rule to cover even more distance. He came to a halt right behind some ruins, close to the central objective. The Nina, piloted by Koshka herself, made a daring march move up the west flank, getting ready to support the SSU army from an enveloping position in future turns. Spotting an opportunity to disrupt the SSU hero before she could reach the cover of the trees, the Axis player called upon the Jagluther, which stomped onto the field close to the Axis-held objective in the southeast corner. It leveled its 2 mighty anti-tank guns at the KV-47 Walker in the distance and opened fire, surprisingly hitting with both shots. As the Nina couldn't claim any sort of cover, it had to rely on damage resilience. However, the damage of the anti-tank guns proved to be too much to handle, meaning the Nina went down in flames. That was a heavy blow to the SSU force, but at least the defiant but possibly concussed Koshka managed to climb her way out of the wreckage without suffering any lasting damage. Opting for a more careful approach this time to avoid another Nina accident, the Natasha contented itself with moving up behind some trees. As the Axis had long-range superiority, the SSU realized they had to play the patient game for now. The last of the Axis units to activate was the command squad, which moved up into some cover before trying, but failing, to reactivate the Jagdluther. The SSU then brought on their own command squad and had them stay close to the Nina in case of repair emergencies. The officer then pondered for some time before deciding to attempt to reactivate the Tesla gun squad. The order was a success, and so the electrical weapons battery was allowed to recharge and fire again, this time aiming for the Axis centerpiece, the Jagdluther. 2 of the shots hit, and as the Panzerkampfläufer was out of cover, there was no way for the Axis player to avoid the damage. No critical hits were scored though, but at least 2 hit points were stripped away. Turn 1 was over, and the early exchange of blows have seen the Axis come out on top. With the destruction of the Nina, the west flank has been left relatively open for both sides. Stefan and the Red Army assault squad have made move towards the central objective, whilst the heavy concentration of units seems to be on the east side for both parties. The Tesla gun has already unleashed 2 volleys into the Axis lines, and the Natasha and command squad are ready to go for a push towards the Axis held objective. The Red Army rifle squad looks set to hold on to the northwest objective without much resistance, although their chances of flanking are now gone as Koshka has lost her vehicle. Meanwhile, the Sturm Grenadier units flooding the center of the board remain hidden out of view, whilst the Jagdluther is anchoring the southeast objective. Since there can be no scoring on turn 1, we quickly moved on to turn 2, in which the SSU claimed priority. They immediately turned to their new favorite piece, the Tesla gun squad, and issued them another attack action against the Axis Walker. 2 initial hits turned into 4 after sustained fire rerolls had been applied, and although no crits were scored this time either, the Jagdluther suffered another 4 points of damage, bringing it very close to destruction indeed. Desperate cries of emergency repairs from the pilot reached the ears of the Axis command squad, who were more or less forced to move eastwards in order to try to save the badly damaged Walker before the enemy could put the final nail in its coffin. The mechanic produced his tools and set to work, successfully restoring 2 of its lost hit points. Koshka, still reeling from her mechanical mount's premature death, downgraded the suppression to an under fire token and then moved up into the cover of the small wood on the west flank, desperate to find a secure spot for her to rally and catch her breath. The Jagdluther decided enough was enough and angrily dealt with the suppression token before turning around to face the Tesla gun squad. Being stunned though, it couldn't sustain fire but still blasted away with its primary guns. Apparently though, the Walker hadn't fully recovered yet from the electrical current running through its mechanical veins, as the volley missed its mark completely, leaving the Red Army men unscathed. The SSU, feeling the momentum of this duel going their way, decided to keep up the assault. Thus, the officer of the command squad, just like last turn, tried a get moving you bunch of monkeys action on the Tesla gun squad, which was once again passed, meaning the Jagdluther would feel the wrath of the SSU trademark Tesla weaponry for a 3rd time. This final volley produced enough high voltage power to collapse the already burdened system of the Axis steel behemoth. A final scream of pain was heard from the crew before the entire construct exploded. The Axis decided to shift flank and figured an opportunity to capture the SSU objective might present itself now that the west flank was cleared of enemy units, and so a unit of Sturm Grenadiers was sent forwards to try to deal with the Red Army rifle squad next turn. With the danger of the Jagdluther now having been removed, the Natasha decided to go aggressive. The pilot aimed the Walker's twin howitzers at the Sturm Grenadiers next to the ammo crates and gave them a volley. 5 hits were scored, but even though the howitzer, being a grenade weapon, ignored cover, the Axis players still passed 3 of the infantry save rolls. Despite surviving the incoming fire relatively well though, the Axis now had a serious new threat to try and deal with. Eventually, they decided attack was probably the only way forwards. Since the Axis command squad was just within reach to claim the objective, the Sturm Grenadiers were free to roll away the suppression token and then abandon the cover of the ruins to go KV-47 hunting. Things started badly though, as the bazooka missed its mark, but one of the Panzerfaust shots found a weak spot in the armor. After a damaged resilience roll, the Natasha had suffered 2 points of damage. No critical hits and not a huge toll, but at least a start. The rifle squad on the hill then activated and started proceedings with securing a position behind the sandbags in front of the ammo crates objective. The 2 sniper rifles, seeing the flares of enemy anti-tank runs on the other flank, aimed their weapons at the Sturm Grenadiers. They used their scopes to make out the bazooka-armed soldier and successfully brought the Axis trooper down, much to the relief of the Natasha. The Axis final unit was the hero Stefan, who promptly ran up to claim the central objective for the Axis, trying to the best of his abilities to use the ammo crates for cover. Not willing to concede 2 victory points to Stefan and the Axis, the Red Army Assault Squad moved up to contest the objective. After turn 2, both sides still have all to play for. Whilst the Axis are maintaining control over their closest objective, so does the SSU with theirs. The flanking unit of Sturm Grenadiers on the west flank might be able to cause some problems for the SSU in coming turns though, but the Axis themselves might find it difficult to deal with the approaching Natasha, especially as the Tesla gun squad looks set to keep up its excellent supporting fire. Points-wise, the area around the middle objective is firmly held by the SSU. However, as Stefan is just around the corner, neither side is able to claim control of the ammo crates at this stage. The rifle squad secures 1 point for the SSU forces in the northwest corner, as does the command squad for the Axis in the southeast, meaning the score currently sits at 1-1. At the start of turn 3, the Axis rolled a perfect initiative roll and so were able to move out first. Stefan wasted no time and so peekabooed the Red Army Assault Squad in an effort to greet them with flames and, if he needed to, his fists. A fearful expression appeared on his face though, as the shotgun-armed SSU troopers attempted a reactive attack, but Stefan's evil smile soon returned as it became clear the attempt was failed. With a suitable sinister laughter, he pulled the trigger on his flamethrower. His once-per-game lucky special rule was used to grant him rerolls, which secured a total of 4 hits, which left only the unit leader alive for close combat. In melee, Stefan parried the terrified opponent's clumsy swings and brought the final SSU soldier down with a well-placed punch of his own, meaning the Axis hero single-handedly had destroyed the entire unit. Feeling the importance of maintaining pressure, the SSU player activated the Natasha. After removing the under fire token, the walker was left with a plethora of possible directions to go and actions to take. It opted for the hyper-aggressive choice of continuing its clanking stroll towards the Axis objective and decided to ignore both Stefan on its right and the depleted unit of Sturm Grenadiers to its left, to instead direct its fire at the Axis command squad straight ahead. The shrapnel hit the surprised officer and his men 6 times, but thanks to a brilliant save roll only killed 2. The Natasha though had very quickly become the new top priority for the Axis to bring down before it could reach their lines. Continuing the theme of aggressive moves, the Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad decided it was time to spring their trap. They burst around the wood, acquiring line of sight and range to the rifle squad currently guarding the SSU-held objective. First up was the bazooka, which blew off the head of one particularly poor Red Army man. The 4 assault rifles opened fire a split second later, but only managed a measly 2 hits, one of which the SSU player managed to save. Not quite the devastating cleansing the Axis had been hoping for. Next up was Koshka, who was eager to prove her worth despite losing her vehicle. She turned around to engage the Sturm Grenadiers and fired off a shot with her grenade pistol before charging headfirst into them. She decided to use her once per battle fighting spirit special rule in order to cause maximum damage, which was lucky as the 4 hits from her weapon otherwise would have meant no hits at all. In the end, her pistol brought down a solid 3 enemies. The following close combat didn't go her way though, as she lost 1 hit point for no damage caused in return. Still, her efforts might very well have been the saving grace for the rifle squad up on the hill. The 2 remaining Sturm Grenadiers on the east flank, now horribly exposed, thanked their lucky stars the Natasha had run right past them. Despite having used up all of their Panzerfaust rounds already, the Axis officer shouted at them to bring the KV-47 down. Shrugging, they successfully removed the under fire token before engaging the walker in close combat. Using improvised weapons, they managed to put another wound on the Natasha without suffering any damage in return. The machine was leaking oil but remained standing, meaning the Axis would have to direct even more attention towards the annoying walker. The Red Army Rifle Squad then activated and decided to try and save Koshka from the flanking Sturm Grenadiers. The unit leader instructed his sniper-armed men to take careful aim and, after adjusting their scopes, they brought down one of the remaining 2 models. Praying not to hit the SSU hero, the unit leader himself then sent a burst from his submachine gun into the swirling melee, scoring 3 hits and successfully killing the last Axis trooper. The Axis commander, desperate to halt the Natasha, decided his best bet was to try and reactivate Stefan. The attempt was a success, which enabled the Axis hero to step over the burning remains of the SSU assault squad and move closer to the rampaging enemy walker. He sent a burst of flame into the back of it, dealing another point of damage. No crits this time either, but very slowly the Axis were whittling the walker down. The command squad then used their second action to hunker down behind the objective, using the ammo crates as cover. As the Axis were now out of units to activate, the SSU could move up without risk of interference. They began with the Tesla gun squad, which moved up a bit before turning right in order to fire at Stefan. The usual accuracy was off this time around though, as not a single shot hit home. Gritting his teeth, the SSU player turned to the command squad and had them walk forwards into machine gun range of the Axis hero. The barrage scored a statistical 2 hits, but Stefan made both his save rolls, meaning he had survived the incoming fire without any lasting damage at all. However, the SSU had made it very clear he was marked for death next turn if he stayed put. Turn 3 had seen a lot of action, and there are way fewer units left on the table now compared to the start of the turn. Both the SSU assault squad and the unit of Sturm Grenadiers had been completely destroyed, as well as many other units suffering casualties and hit points all across the board. We reckon both sides still has the potential to win the game, but the SSU are probably in a slightly better position. A look on the objective reveals the SSU will get 1 point for holding northwest objective, the Axis 1 point for the southeast one, and also 2 points for the middle objective, which Stefan has under control. This means the Axis are in the lead as we head into turn 4. Crucially, for the Axis, they managed to maintain initiative and so could make the first move of the turn. Stefan was immediately activated and he easily dealt with the under fire token, checked his fuel storage levels and then bathed the Natasha in flames one more time. Thanks to sustained fire granted by not moving, he hit the SSU Walker and caused another 2 damage points, none of which were saved by damage resilience. Finally then, the Natasha was destroyed to the wild cheers of the few remaining Axis soldiers on the battlefield. Having had enough of Stefan's shenanigans, the SSU command squad advanced forwards, bringing their short-ranged submachine guns into range of the Axis hero. A disappointing 6 hits were not enough to bring him down though, as he passed 3 of his save rolls, leaving him alive with 1 wound left. Cursing, the SSU officer ordered his men to reload their guns and keep their heads down. Since wide battlefield presence is often important, the Axis player had the 2 surviving Sturm Grenadiers move westwards, trying to keep them out of harm's way for now. The Tesla gun squad was given the order to execute the badly injured Stefan, and so charged up the battery pack once more before unleashing a torrent of electricity into the ruins where he was hiding. 3 hits were scored, which sufficed for them to be able to report a confirmed kill to the delighted SSU officer. The Sturm Grenadier command squad, who honestly didn't have many options, started by using their medic to bring back one of the squad members. After welcoming the machine gunner back to life, the officer then tried, but failed, to reactivate the Sturm Grenadier duo on the other side of the board. The rifle squad, not having line of sight to any targets, simply consolidated their position around the northwest objective before Koshka, in a sneaky maneuver, march moved into the now empty ruined central building, claiming the ammo crates for the SSU. At the end of turn 4, there really weren't many units left alive on the burning field of battle, although the Axis finally managed to bring down the Natasha, thus securing the southeast objective. They are quickly running out of manpower. The SSU looks to be in control of the battle, their key to success being that they still have plenty of units across the board despite having suffered a lot of damage. With Koshka's move, they are now in possession of the central set of ammo crates for 2 points, and also have another point trickle in from the objective on the hill. The Axis, at least, secure 1 point for the southeast objective. Thus, the score is dead even when we move on to turn 5. The SSU won the roll-off and so could issue the reliable Tesla gun squad a move order up the hill in front of it in order to search for line of sight towards the Axis command squad. A closer look revealed they indeed could make out the unit leader, which turned them into an eligible target. The Tesla gun, which must be running quite low on power by now, discharged its payload, which in the end killed the Axis radio operator and put a stunned token on the unit. Aiming for kill points as well as causing disruption, the Sturm Grenadiers moved out of cover and moved up to engage and hopefully bring down Koshka. They knew they needed a strong set of hits, which was exactly what they managed to produce. Koshka tried her luck with infantry saves, but only passed 1. As she was already injured, that meant the 3 unsaved bullet wounds were enough to kill her off. The Axis hardly had time to celebrate though, as their move had brought them right in front of the Red Army rifle squad on the hill. The unit leader once more ordered their snipers to go target practicing, and after sustained fire had granted them their 2 necessary hits, both enemies each took a shot to the head, leaving them lying still on the ground. If the Axis command squad had few options last turn, it was nothing compared to now. Engaged on all fronts by overwhelming numbers and fire, they simply couldn't do very much but to deal with their tokens and then having the medic patch up the presumed dead radio operator. Last up was the SSU command squad, which March moved up to reclaim the central objective. Turn 5 had cemented the SSU's battlefield control, as the Axis are now down to a single, although defiant, unit. But despite fully dictating the flow of the battle, the SSU still needed to keep their heads cool, for even though the Axis command squad's primary function is to bring special actions to the table, they are still armed with assault rifles and a machine gun. Points-wise, the SSU received another 2 points for the ammo crates in the ruined building, as well as another point for the ones on the hill, whilst the Axis officer secured 1 point for their side. The Axis force was decimated, but they still refused to give up. So, for the first time this battle, the SSU are now truly in the lead. The beginning of turn 6 saw the Axis winning priority. Realizing desperate actions were now well and truly in order, they threw caution to the wind and moved up to the edge of the ruins in order to fire at the Tesla gun squad. An excellent roll of dice meant the barrage scored 7 hits, and so finally the annoyingly effective Tesla gun was brought down for its troubles. Perhaps a little too late, but at least a proper example of the Axis' feigned refusal to surrender. By spreading the models out in a line, the SSU command squad was able to both maintain control of the central objective, whilst at the same time securing range and line of sight towards the Axis command squad for the unit's machine gunner, who pulled the trigger of his weapon. The 2 hits were saved though, sparing the Axis men from suffering any damage apart from an under fire token. In an impressive tactical display, the SSU rifle squad adjusted their position on the hill before searching for possible firing lines. Through their scopes, the sniper-armed troopers managed to establish contact with the enemy officer's entourage. One of the shots hit, and this time the SSU made no mistake as they declared the medic to be the receiver of the unsavable bullet. This turn had seen the somewhat surprising death of the Tesla gun squad, but in return the SSU had managed to execute a brilliant counter-barrage with the remaining snipers of the rifle squad, killing the medic, which crucially ended the Axis players' resurrection actions. The Axis had by now given up hope of winning the battle, but as there were still possible kill points to gain, they decided against withdrawing from the battle. That meant another 3 points, just like last turn for the SSU, and 1 more point for the Axis. The SSU were running away on mission points, but just like the Axis player reasoned, there were kill points up for grabs for both parties. With the SSU winning the priority role, however, the Axis chances of making a dramatic comeback was severely reduced. The rifle squad, already having the enemy in their sights from last turn, fired up another round into the Axis command squad. Despite sustained fire, only 1 of the shots hit, and after some deliberation, the SSU player decided to have the long-ranged machine gunner die. For the second time actually, in this battle. Throughout the game, the rifle squad had both secured a steady stream of victory points and also provided some brilliant long-ranged and accurate fire support. With only himself and the radio operator left standing, the Axis officer decided to finally accept reality and so retreated back to the cover of the ammo crates. Seeing the enemy commander withdrawing out of view, the SSU command squad abandoned the hunt and returned to a more defensive position in the ruined building. That brought the score to 14-8 in the SSU's favor as we prepared to see the game out in the final turn. The Axis won the roll for initiative but didn't really fancy moving out of cover due to the presence of the enemy snipers. Instead, the officer turned to the radio operator and ordered to call for emergency evacuation, preferably as quick as possible. The SSU officer, realizing the battle was over, allowed 2 of his troopers to move a floor further up. From this high vantage point, the radio operator, flanked by the machine gunner, could look down on the wreck-filled battleground and call the carrier helicopters to come and pick up the secured ammo crates. Their hearts swelling with pride, the very active rifle squad consolidated their position a final time, effectively ending the battle. This mission had been filled with dramatic movements and swung quite often from one side to the other, at least in the first couple of turns. All in all, a great showing of how awesome a game of DOS 1947 truly can be. The SSU, scoring another 3 points at the end of the turn, had only 8 men still standing in the end, and evidence of that they had indeed suffered greatly in this long battle. The Axis officer, still yelling at the radio operator for evacuation, at least secured one final point for his once so proud force. The SSU finished the game with a whopping 17 victory points to the Axis 9, but as always, the numbers rarely tell the true story. There was, however, no denying that the Red Army had fairly claimed yet another league victory. Since they lost the mission, the Axis didn't receive any points from objectives. They also failed to reach 40 action points destroyed with a bitter margin, which meant they only scored 3 league points all in all. The SSU were awarded another 3 league points for a new mission won, and also managed to kill 41 action points worth of enemy units, resulting in a solid 7 league points. Before we move on to the league table, let's first have a look at how the armies performed. The Axis units, we reckon, did quite well for themselves actually. The Jagluther started off great, but as it was destroyed already on turn 2, the Axis were left without any long-ranged fire support, severely crippling their forces' damage output. The Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad on the west flank had a brave, but eventually fruitless, go at the SSU objective, which saw them wiped out, and even though the other squad had some success, stripping some hit points away from the Natasha Walker and killing Koshka, they ultimately failed to really have a strong impact in the game. The Sturm Grenadier Command Squad did well, with a few well-timed reactivations and even a couple of mechanic and medic actions, as well as shooting the Tesla gun to pieces. Furthermore, they kept the victory points trickling in for the Axis side. For his dramatic solo raid in the middle of the board, Unit of the Game is awarded Stefan. He single-handedly eliminated the entire SSU assault squad, claiming the central set of ammo crates before turning around to destroy the rampaging Natasha too. Truly some powerful heroics for this very interesting hero. The Red Army prevailed again, despite using a quite different army build than last time. The Nina, though, were hardly able to move onto the board before it was smashed apart by the Jagluther. Likewise, the assault squad was wiped out before they had a chance to fire, as they unfortunately failed a vital reactive attack attempt. The other KV-47 Walker, the Natasha, worked wonders as bullet magnet, basically forcing the entire Axis east flank to pour fire into it for some time. Despite its howitzer not having a huge impact, it drew enough attention to still be considered a very effective unit. The SSU command squad, as always it seems, played their part well. The officers' early game reactivations were on point, and they even got to see some action before claiming the middle objective. Koshka's plan was thwarted early as the Nina went down, but she still proved to be effective despite being on foot. Her grenade pistol is deadly against infantry, and she played a crucial part in defending the SSU's west flank. An honorable mention is given to the rifle squad, which basically spent the game moving about on top of the hill, using their accurate sniper rifles for deadly effect. Also, they held on to the northwest objective throughout the game. Unit of the game, though, has to go to the Tesla gun squad. They put a lot of pressure on the Axis east flank forces, and especially the annihilation of the Jagluther put the SSU force in a great position. As they also killed Stefan and kept the Red Army's momentum up, we think this debut unit definitely deserves to be awarded this honorable prize. By looking at the league table, it's quite clear the SSU have taken an even more commanding lead as stage 1 is now over. However, as we increase the army sizes for the second stage, all blocks still has all to play for, as there will be more units on the table, which means more kill points. As always, I hope you liked the video as well as the league system we're trying out. If you do enjoy the content, please remember that a like or a comment is always highly appreciated. Until next time, a massive cheers from Sweden. Bye!